Hello, today I'm going to talk about recovery. It's a known fact that sooner or later you are going to have to recover some losses. There's simply no way around that, and that really is the only guarantee you have in the market. With that being said, I'm going to cover a rather unique and unorthodox approach today. I've covered many other different techniques in the past, but this one is one of my favorites, just because it is so unorthodox. Let's start with the very first thing that stands out on this chart, and that is I'm trading on the 57-minute time frame. This technique does not work well in smaller time frames. It is specifically geared and designed for the mechanical process of a larger time frame, and you will see why very shortly. Now, this particular chart does use exit signals, and my budget is limited strictly to $100 per coin, and I am using price method. Now, I'm sure that just probably threw a monkey wrench into a lot of thinking plans that I'm actually using such an aggressive approach for a recovery. And I am. And that's because the way this process works is what makes it so unique. Parabolic stop and release is a rather interesting module that can do quite a bit of unique stuff. There's nothing special about this module really, except that it can often get the valleys and peaks quite well. That is what we are going to capitalize on. So as you can see with the light colored markers, where the parabolic SAR would purchase and sell. For example, purchase here, sell up here. And same thing, purchase, sell. Now by itself, it averages maybe 2% profit, depending upon the market. But as you can see in this kind of a situation, it's going to take some significant losses. But this is where we change that. Here we have a very aggressive price method, strategy-based dollar cost averaging. And I do mean aggressive, 0.3% deviation. Extremely aggressive. 1% initial starting profit, 0.5% final profit. So the more I accumulate, the less profit I want just to get out. Now, I'm sure right now this is probably causing a lot of confusion, because how am I going to make any profit if I'm just getting out of break even? And I have an absolute out point at 10 positions. So that means once I've made my 9th position, the next one gets out at a loss, as we can see with these little red markers. And you can see I've actually taken quite a few little red markers, or quite a few exit positions, just to get out of this chart quickly. And yet, the profits of this chart are very unique. Now, not every coin works well with this, but the ones that do create a very interesting opportunity. Take a look at this chart. Maximum budget, 9 active positions. My profit for my take profit is 1% and only 1%. Yet, my average profit, even with the exit points deliberately taking losses, is 5% on this coin. Think about that. I am making $5 out of every 100 per trade cycle. So I have 100 trade cycles, $5 each. The life of this method has brought in $500 profit for this average, for this time cycle. That is literally a 5-to-1 ratio of what I've actually risked versus what I've gained. And I have an absolute bottom line 100% guaranteed $100 budget. Now, let's take a little minute to think about what I just said. For $100, I've made $500. This is a recovery recipe. This is what I run when I've lost money. Now, if you're as defensive as I am in trading, you're always running a recovery recipe. At least one. For a $1,200 budget, you could run 12 coins, and if they're all similar to this, let's just take $1,000 to keep the math easy. You're going to make $5,000 profit just on recovery mechanics. Now, of course, not every coin is the same, and some coins only get the 1% profit. But still, not bad for recovery. Recovery's intended purpose is to be painful and slow, and it does not give you the results at lower time frames, to which I will demonstrate. Only 2% here, but sometimes it won't make that. But still, for the purpose of what this recipe does, this is price method aggressive, and yet it never goes above $100 ever. The one thing I have noticed is when many people develop their strategies, they don't maximize the full extent of what is possible. Now, this is not going to work on every coin, as I said, and I will demonstrate that with other coins. But if you're going to use a very aggressive technique, think about absolutes. Weigh in how much your losses are going to be. Think about your profits. In this case, this is a strategy-only entry and exit. And for this situation, it works very well. So if I have, say, 4 or 5 of these kinds of recipes, this is going to balance out my one aggressive recipe that I might be trading. Always think about the recovery, because sooner or later you will be recovering. Think about your trading defensively as well as offensively. So let's go to BNB. Now everybody knows that CZ likes to pump this one to high heavens. Again, the red markers are deliberate exits with losses. And I emphasize, you are going to take losses. But yet your average profit is still 4.9% on a maximum budget of $100. So for $100 budget, it's going to pull in $490 on this time frame. Let's see if we can find a weaker coin. Okay, here's a coin that only gets 3.5%. Of course, it's Bitcoin, but still, I'm not going to pass up a 3.5% recovery rate if I've got a deep position in Bitcoin. And if I take this recipe with what I described in a support server, where I purchase $11, I sell $12 to burn down my bag, I've got a winning approach. And we can keep going with multiple coins and multiple approaches. Now, the 1 hour time frame is 24 hours a day. Let's see, 5,000 divided by 24 would be what? I think it's 6 months. $208 days. So roughly 6 months, 6.9 months exactly. So still, 609 trades in 6 months is not bad for a recovery process. Coin that's out of business, even a coin that is just horrible in its market, still does 4% for a reasonable recovery. And we can keep going. This coin pulls in an average of 9% right now. Now this is not leverage, this is not futures, this is not margin. This is plain old spot trading. Spot trading, not bad. Another 9% one. Okay, here's an example of, well, quite frankly, a coin I wouldn't trade half dead. But if I was halfway out of my mind, and I did for some whatever reason want to trade this kind of a coin, I'm still above my break-even point. So even my worst case scenario is still profitable. Here's another weird coin. And again, above profit. So we have both the fiat version and the crypto version, and both of them are above water. And notice how many buys it accumulates. So even with this coin being complete garbage, it's still not bad to trade. Not that I would, but nonetheless. Okay, here we go. I have heard countless people talking about their losses in Doge. I'm not seeing that. Take a good look. Does that look like a loss to you? Because it certainly doesn't to me. And that really is the point of how you want to manage your trading. You want to think about the worst case situation, and that's going to be recovery. So, even the USDT version does, well, quite well. We can go on. And we can keep racking up average profits with direct, deliberate losses. Every red marker is a direct, deliberate loss. And as you can see, it doesn't need it, but when it does a good job in dealing with it. So, if you're going to trade unusual coins, think about unusual recipes, ways to take advantage of what each module represents. Look at your exit point, test, analyze. Think about how difficult it's going to be. And when you see losses accumulate profits, then you realize just what type of a recovery approach you have. Because if you're still making these kind of profits, even in a recovery approach, full well knowing you're going to take a direct loss, it's worth the amount of time to wait, to let it happen. And the most important factor about such a recipe is simplicity. While the more advanced recipes have a place, some of your best recipes are going to be the simplest. Because let's face it, in reality, the less moving parts, the less things can go wrong. So let's reset the chart to where we can see it and go through a few more of these unique recipes. Look for the red arrows. This is what makes this recipe so strong, because it gets out at a very low rate. And then it gets right back in, not that much far away. In a way, this is similar to the savings account, but it's not as channel locked as the savings account because of the way it is structured. And as I said before, some of the most complex components are really just understanding the dynamics of the market itself. You can't avoid losses, but you can think about how to recover from them. You can think about the coins you trade, how you apply those metrics. and what your risk is going to be on the basis of each and every potential situation. Some coins are going to do well, some coins aren't. Recovery is a difficult process, and it's a slow process. It can't be rushed. If you try to rush a recovery, you're only going to incur more losses. So I think you're beginning to see the pattern here of how well this works in hugging the market. Simplicity is always the best course of action. And when you can make profits in light of losses, that really is something you don't want to pass up. So let's see what this did for a profit in light of just monstrous drop. Okay, 6% average profit. And yet, the market pretty much hit the ground. Not a coin I would trade, but still, if you're in this situation, it's not hopeless. Now, Matic has been everybody's favorite darling lately, but it has caused a lot of heartburn for a lot of people. Well, I guess this beats Alka-Seltzer any day. And it hasn't even hit the breaking point. Only 5 max cycles. That's not bad. That's not bad at all. Check around. Check the coins carefully. Research the details. Plan for the worst as commonplace. And even if you trade aggressively and have an aggressive recipe, look at and for a recovery process when things go bad. Think about how to get out, when to get out, and what to do when things just really get out of hand. These are all things you need to take care of before you begin trading. Now the market looks like it's recovering, but that could be very deceptive, and it could turn around and go right back to these monster drops again. And as you can see, most coins went through a monster drop all at the same time. So quite a few people have, well, a lot of holes in their wallets right now, which is fine because it's going to happen. Let's see what this shows. This market isn't all that liquid in many respects. So let's see what kind of, well, not bad. Okay, let's go to the nightmare coin. The coin that drove a lot of people into some bad positions. That's right, the coin that racked up 3,000 positions. And yet here, only $100 and a 5% profit. And look at this drop. In fact, let's go back and look at this coin in general. I've warned about trading this coin countless times because it is such a bloodbath. And yet, with this recipe, I would trade this coin. Even with this kind of insanity. Now, let's see what else we can find. Let's see, where is Civic? Another coin that has caused quite a few people some indigestion. And yeah, this is a good reason. So let's see where this coin sits. Well, quite nicely, really. This is not bad. Not that I would trade this coin, because I wouldn't. But nonetheless, if I had a limited market, like what FTX gives the United States, and this was one of those choices, it definitely would be doable. I would feel comfortable going away on a weekend with this recipe running. So let's see what else we can find. Okay. Where is it? Here we go. This coin can rack up a $30,000 position because of its steep and unusual market issues. I can tell you from personal experience how bad. Let me get back to it. Where'd it go? How bad this coin is. And yet, I would still trade it with this recipe. Not many other recipes, but definitely with this recipe. In fact, let's go down to the 30-minute candle. Still does good. 5-minute candle still does good. 1-minute candle starts getting sketchy. But the 5-minute still does good. But if you really want to bring home the recovery, this is where it's at. Simple and to the point. So I hope this will help you think about the recovery process and about when you want to start the recovery process. I personally have some kind of recovery recipe running all the time because I know sooner or later the market's going to drop. That's just a fact of trading. So I'm always defensive in that way. Even when I have my recipes that have me $145 in the hole, I don't worry about it because this is going to pull that back very quickly. Do your research. Plan for the worst case scenario as commonplace. Think about your exit points. Think about how often you want to exit or when you want to exit. What is the breaking point for a coin that is just bad news? And there are a lot of coins that can be just bad news. think about what you do when this happens. And this will happen with such a small budget. Most importantly, realize recovery is painful. Until next time.